right, so we're moving on into the second topic, which is sponsored by Loot Crate. Would you classify yourself as a geek, gamer, or pop culture nerd? Then Loot Crate is the subscription box for you. For less than $20 a month, you get 6 to 8 items of gamer and pop culture licensed gear, apparel, collectibles, unique one-of-a-kind items, and more. Make sure to head to lootcrate.com/KFGames and enter the code KFGames to save $3 on any new subscription. Every month there's a different theme, and you're guaranteed $40 or more worth of items, all curated around that theme. They're all inspired by classic movie and video game stuff. You guys know this. We do it every month, so it's great. This is loot you deserve and the loot you need right now. Basically, Loot Crate's like a friend who knows what you love and surprises you with an awesome present every month, and they ship to over 13 different countries. You have until the 19th at 9 p.m. Pacific to subscribe and receive that month's crate. So when the cutoff happens, that's it. You're never getting that crate again, so you got to get on that. Go to lootcrate.com/KFGames, enter code KFGames, save $3. It's going to be cool. It's going to be awesome. You should do that.
You didn't tell me what the theme is this month.
I don't know what the
Cyber's come and gone. I need to know what's next.
Yeah. I don't know. It wasn't in the
Thank you, Loot Crate.
thing. They're figuring it out.
Thank you, Loot Crate, for your support.
So, this topic is about Nintendo. Something very near and dear to my heart. So at E3, they come out. They announce all these new games. People are thrilled. Some of that statement is true. Some of that statement is not. One of those games was Metroid Prime Federation Force.
People lost their mind. They were
Another
so excited.
one of those games was the Zelda Triforce. I don't remember what it was called, but
who cares?
Yeah.
Triforce Trinkets.
Yeah. So there's that thing. And people did not like this. The internet uproared. They were angry.
The internet got mad?
Oh, the internet was really mad.
I don't believe that
So
for a
then
second.
Mega64 made a hilarious video that you guys should check out that was making fun of the internet, making fun of Nintendo, but really they're also making fun of Nintendo because that's how that all works.
Yeah.
And it was ridiculous. It was really funny, and they essentially pretended they were terrorists and were a terrorist group that was upset that
It's
a
funny.
real Metroid Prime was
You're saying
out.
it's funny. You're saying it's a funny video for Mega 64. You were also saying they've crossed the line.
I mean,
This might
watching
be
it,
too much.
But that's Mega 64.
I'm aware that's Mega 64. I love Mega 64.
But watching the video, I was like, good Lord, like they just do what we would never do because I'm a
got
podcast
balls.
bitch.
They
That's
got
why.
balls.
They really do got balls. They got 3 balls.
Whoa.
Just like Square Enix.
Three balls, but not in the air.
Yeah. No, they got the
Firmly
good
in their
balls.
sack.
Firmly in their sack. Mega 64. So they did this, and then our boy Reggie Fils-Aimé came out, and he's just like, we get it.
Look.
Like, we understand people are very upset about this, right? But you guys need to play it in order to really understand what we're doing, and we want to make sure that we're breathing new lives into our franchise.
And you're talking specifically right now about Metroid.
About
the reaction
Metroid,
to Metroid.
yeah,
Metroid.
the reaction to Metroid. Because people had a lot of issue with the Zelda game too, but that seemed to be a little less aggressive.
But you know
also,
why? You know why? Because they know they're getting the Zelda Wii U that they want.
They're getting Zelda Wii U. They've also had Zelda games in recent times.
Right.
So, the last Metroid game was Other M. Before
Yeah.
that, it was Prime 3.
And Other M, a home run.
Yeah, I mean, Other M...
What we all thought Samus sounded like.
Yeah. Other M
I
had a
looked
lot
at
of
the baby
issues, but it wasn't
Metroid.
horrible. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like Other M gets a bad rap for being, like, garbage. But it really just wasn't good.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said there. Although, again, Prime 2008 was, like, the last real great Metroid game. So, for him to come out and say this...
You're saying Metroid Prime 3.
Yes.
Corruption.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Right?
No, yeah, I just want to make sure you were.
You
You said Metroid Prime 2008, which would be
Sorry,
3,
well,
not the
the last
original
Metroid
Metroid,
Prime.
which was what, 02?
02?
Yeah.
Yeah. The last Metroid Prime game was 2008, was Metroid Prime 3 on the Wii.
Right. Okay. I
And
understand.
that was a great game.
It
Not
was.
as good as the first, but still, like, it was great. So there's no new Metroid Prime game announced. Out of nowhere, they announced this Metroid Prime Ball Hunters, and then they renamed it Federation Force. And there was Hunters on DS and all this stuff, and this looks kind of like a weird successor to that in some way that no one asked for at all. And I think that's what we're dealing with now is the fact that everyone's like, no one asked for that. Everyone asked for this. Why aren't we getting this? Why are we getting that? I kind of just want to know what your guys' thoughts are on this because for me, I agree with the people that are upset. I'm like, why aren't we getting this? I totally understand that. But at the same time, it's like, I don't think that this game takes the place of that game. And the fact that it has the Metroid name almost doesn't matter. Like, it's a spin-off thing. And they're just using Metroid because it's the style of game is a shooter type thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, Metroid's their shooters. It's like Mario. Just because like a Mario Party game's coming out doesn't mean that a Mario Kart game's not being made.
Yeah. Having hung out with Colin Moriarty long enough, and done Colin Moriarty long enough. I already know one of the arguments he's going to make about all this, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, sir, lover, is the fact that Metroid historically doesn't sell. It sells fine, not juggernaut blockbuster. So that's why you're not getting the Metroid game you want. Now, the problem with that, our line of thinking when we apply it to this other game, Ball Hunters, is the fact of why apply the Metroid franchise to that. If it already isn't selling, it's not going to sell this weird, not Metroid game that you don't really want thing. You know what I mean? And that's the thing about Mario, right? Mario sells, and we already know Mario can be applied to a million different things, and the fact that Mario Tennis might come out doesn't stop the next 3D Mario from coming out, right? Whereas with this, I think they're clearly searching for what to do with Metroid, right? Metroid Other M was a different direction of like, all right, let's see, Jesus, Prime, critically acclaimed, everybody loves it, these gamers love it. How do we bring it? But it's not selling. Can we sell it if we base it around a story and put the Remember Me guy in there and all this stuff? We can't. So what's the next way do we play it? We put out the collection of all the Primes, right? It doesn't sell Juggernaut. It's not a mega success. So now you go and reapply here. It's them searching. They're taking this thing around, trying to figure out what the hell they can do with it. It's similar in a way to what Sony did with Ratchet and Clank, right? Or Insomniac, really, I guess. But of just like, all right, we know Ratchet does well here. What if we do something? Oh no, nobody likes those. Nobody likes that. Okay, let's get back to just making Ratchet games. Like where do you go and where do you put Metroid is the big thing. And to Colin's point of the fact that they don't sell well, and that's why you don't get the Metroid game you want. I've said it before on our programming. I'm like, from an again, an outsider standpoint, as somebody who didn't grow up with the Nintendo but like appreciates what Metroid does, right? Is I would say go backwards with it and make a simple 16-bit Metroid, put it out on the eShop or whatever, get people stoked about that, excited about that, new fans come to it, everybody knows it's this awesome thing, it's $14, $20, everybody downloads it, plays it, loves it, and then you start to build the groundwork or lay the groundwork to get yourself the next really big Metroid game.
That'd be amazing. I feel like that is the right way to go in terms of the core gamer and what we would want from Metroid if we're not going to get another Prime.
Yeah.
Even if we are getting another Prime, I kind of want that. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things that people ignore about this situation, I think. Like Greg brought up, Metroid historically doesn't sell, and the whole series, 11 games, have sold about 18 million copies, which is nothing. So
what was the Souls number today?
So we were comparing it to Dark Souls. Namco Bandai announces that Dark Souls 1 and 2 sold 8 million copies. So like right there, you see a game that on average is selling 3 times more than a Metroid game. And Metroid has this cachet with everyone, but it's not a game that people buy. I think that, I like Metroid. I love the original Metroid. I love Metroid Prime. I love Super Metroid, although I think it's overrated. There's a lot of good Metroid games to play, but the fact of the matter is people treat this like a marquee title, and it simply isn't. That's why Retro hasn't been making them. Now, there's another thing that we ignore with Retro particularly is that people want Retro to make the game, and the possibility exists that they're autonomous enough to say, like, we don't want to make a Metroid game. And that's possible too. And if that hypothetical is possible, then you have to hypothetically assume that Nintendo then goes around and is like, well, what do we do with this franchise, if anything? Remember, Metroid sells especially soft in Japan, and them going to Team Ninja, I think, was a way for them to be like, can we get the Japanese audience on board, and can we also make something that the rest of the world will like and buy? And the answer, of course, was no. So to them, it's not so obvious what to do with Metroid. I think Greg makes a great point that if that's the case, then why put Metroid and attach it to anything? And I think it's that Nintendo's saying, well, we're trying to give you something, at least in the universe, while we figure out what we're going to do with this. As I've said before, Nintendo is in the space in between right now. So what do people want them to announce a Metroid game that they're going to strand on the Wii U so it sells 500,000 copies and no one gives a fuck about it? It's smarter for them to say, like, anything we have in production with Metroid, we need to shift over to the next console, and we need to be quiet about it. We have nothing to announce at this time. So it's entirely possible. People are way overreacting to this, because you're right, Tim. This game existing with probably a budget of a couple $1 million, maybe, is not going to stop them from giving $15 or $20 million to a studio to make a real Metroid game. One doesn't exist, at the exclusion of the other, and I think that is an important point to make, and you made it.
And I think in addition to that, though, it's not even just the fact that they're two different games. It's that this is a 3DS game. That is a Wii U game or whatever the hell, NX, throw it up.
Sorry.
But it's like, it's a just totally different, it's a different market. It's a different thing, And like this game could have just been Federation Force, simply Federation Force. But why? Like even if Metroid doesn't sell, Federation Force isn't going to either. the Metroid at least helps a little bit. And it
Yeah, I agree.
also it just builds, it does what Nintendo does and create a Nintendo universe, you know, where it's like you have all of these different characters and they have all these different spin-offs and all this different stuff. And it's like, I don't know.
Could the counter argument be the fact that we're sitting around right now tossing around Metroid sales? It doesn't sell compared to Dark Souls, when Metroid Federation Force comes out and does even worse? Is the argument, and at least to a Metroid fan's opinion, they're going to be, well, of course, now Nintendo's looking at those numbers and thinking it means even less.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that's the case. I still believe in my heart that there's a Metroid game in development. I just don't think that they can say anything about it right now because there's nothing to say. The game might be embryonic or in pre-pro. It might have just entered development. It could be an NX game in which they're not going to talk about it at all. Metroid isn't dead. They know what Metroid means, and I agree with Greg. I would love to see a really robust, as we saw with Axiom Verge, a robust like 2D side-scrolling Metroid, which we had seen on GBA and DS.
Dread.
But you know, people just really overestimate the power of Metroid, and I think Nintendo is probably, even though they have to do some PR spin to be like, all right, we hear you and all these kinds of things, and at their board meetings, they're probably like, who the fuck cares? Like, no one buys Metroid anyway, so
Yeah.
you know, we're gonna make a Metroid game to please these people, but it doesn't matter that they're upset. They're going to. The only people. Let's back up, right? The only people that care about this are the Nintendo hardcore fans, who are fewer and fewer as every day passes, right? And when you diminish even that group of people to the people that care about Metroid, it's a much smaller group. And Nintendo's thoughts are in the exact opposite direction, which is like they're going to be there anyway. Mm-hmm. So what can we do? And they're going to buy Metroid when it comes out. And some of these people, if not a lot of them, are going to buy this Federation Force game. So let's not worry about them. What can we do to make Nintendo relevant again in the console space? And what games and franchises can we create? And I say create to, you know, engender the goodwill of a new generation of people, not regurgitate the same shit over and over and over again. And in a sense, them not doing another Metroid Prime half-assed, not from Retro, but from someone else, is a great example of them kind of treating their IP with care, which I think is something that they, with the exception of Mario, do pretty well. And so Nintendo is going in a different direction. This, as we said so many times, this is a new Nintendo, and I could feel it. Like, I know it. Like, this is a different Nintendo, and everything they're doing is different. So Metroid fans should take heart that a Metroid game will come out. The only people I feel bad about are not the Metroid fans and not Nintendo, but the people making this game, because they're probably making a pretty good game, and everyone hates it already. And it's not their fault.
But see, that's the thing about Nintendo games, though, is that whenever they're announced and whenever they're first talked about, everyone fucking jumps on it and hates it. And the media, like, criticizes it. And, like, all the comments, like, this isn't what I want, blah, blah, blah. Why this? Why that? But then it comes out, and I think generally it's always a surprisingly positive reaction. We saw it with Splatoon, where when that game was announced, everyone was like, this is fucking stupid. Why isn't this Metroid? You know, if we're gonna have a shooter, give me Metroid.
Yeah, why is everyone obsessed with Metroid?
And then all this stuff, and they're so mad about all
It's
this
in
stuff.
space.
Yeah,
No, you're
Spice.
Spice.
And but even with DS games, you know,
you're
when these things are announced, these like smaller things, it's like, oh, why am I not getting a Zelda? Why am I not getting whatever? But it's like then they come out and you're like, oh man, I love all these games.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. I didn't play Federation Force, so I don't know if it's good or not. But going on to the Zelda game, like so many people are like, why? Oh, I don't want this Zelda bullshit. I want a core Zelda game. I don't want a Zelda spinoff. But it's like
I do too. I mean, that's what I felt when I saw that. But I'm like, it doesn't matter. They don't care what I want.
But that's the thing though, is it's just like Zelda is a franchise that we've gotten so many core games from. You know, and like it's not like we're
You already see it on the horizon. That's the difference. Like, there's light at the end of the tunnel for Zelda. You already see it, and you're like, oh my god, Skyrim Zelda is gonna be amazing, right? Whereas Metroid, I think the fans feel adrift.
Yeah, but I mean, even on the not the console front, but the handheld front, it's like, you know, we got Link Between Worlds, we got Ocarina, we got Majora's Mask, like the remakes, but still, like there is a good amount of Zelda games, and like when you add on the Virtual Console, when you add on all this other stuff, it's like we don't need more Zelda like core games. We don't need any of this stuff. But when it comes to the spin-offs, I'm actually happy this game's happening. Like Four Swords Adventures was fucking awesome. I remember when it first happened on the GBA remake of Link to the Past. When you could play multiplayer, I was like, whoa, this is a really cool idea. And then they released the GameCube one. Granted, it was way too hard and you needed way too many peripherals to actually like
Make it all go.
make it work.
Yeah.
When it did work, oh my god. It's like it was a flip on the Zelda game, and it was fun and it was unique. And like that's what Nintendo's great about, is like taking experiences you know and love and then changing it up just enough to make you be like, whoa, this is a whole new experience and I love this and this is fun. Those Four Swords Adventures was fun. I loved playing with my friends. The co-op / kind of multiplayer thing that Nintendo kind of made a thing again with like New Super Mario Bros. And all that stuff, and like that's their thing, and it's Mario 3D World and all that, and even Smash Bros. You know what I mean? Like it's competitive, but it's just fun, and you can kind of just mess around and all that stuff.
It's not a big deal when you lose. You don't feel like you
Mario
screwed
Kart
anything.
even. It's like they kind of have this really nice style of games that it's competitive fun, and this Zelda game looks like that. So I don't know why people need. It's not this. We're not getting a Zelda game because this Zelda game is being made.
Yeah, I
guess
agree with
that's
that
the
too.
biggest point.
And to me, two things stood out to me with that Zelda game. One, the 3DS is really showing its age. That game looks awful in terms of its aesthetic. But that brought to mind at E3 another thing to me, which is like they're going to make another Zelda game and it's going to be on their next handheld.
Yeah,
like they're not quite in the space in between with 3DS yet, but I think they're pretty close. Because they cannot continue to extract blood out of that stone for much longer. That thing is so weak.
Well, you forget. It's like NX is going to unify the platforms.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with NX and what even that is. But like 3DS is so weak that, and I'm not a graphics guy at all, but when I look at games like that, I'm like, this doesn't look bad. It just looks old.
Yeah.
And eventually, they're not going to be able to get away with that anymore. They're already kind of not getting away with it, I think, in some respects. And so, again, it's them saying like, we have the space in between Zelda for you right now, and we'll have the real Zelda. We just released a real Zelda game 2 years ago on 3DS. I don't know what the fuck people want, but you'll get your next Zelda game. And so again, this is a Nintendo that is riding things out right now. They're certainly riding the Wii U out, and they're going to ride the 3DS out soon, you have to imagine. And these games will migrate over, and you're going to see your 3D Mario game, and you're going to see your Zelda game, and you're going to see, this Wii U Zelda game probably ported over at some point, and they'll have something to say when it's ready. You see, Ubisoft had the luxury of announcing Watch Dogs, as I've said before, without announcing its platform, and everyone knew, but you couldn't really say. You can't really do that again. So while I expected that Nintendo might have been bold enough to do it with something like Metroid, they clearly are not going to say anything about the games until they have something to say about the hardware. And in a way, that is a unified message and a smart message, especially considering how woeful Wii U's rollout was when no one even knew what the fuck it was. Yeah. So yeah, this is a Nintendo that's going to have weak offerings for a while, but it's because it's laying in wait and strengthening its future, which I think is actually the smarter move, instead of like just shitting everything out now on a console which is totally fucking dead, and a handheld which is, for all intents and purposes, just not able to run their visions probably for very much longer. So people need to relax a little bit. Zelda will be fine. Metroid, you haven't seen the last of Metroid. It's impossible to imagine you've seen the last of Metroid. You probably haven't seen the last of F-Zero or anything like that either. It's just like, all in good time. All in good time. Nintendo put themselves in a bad space, and they have to lay in the bed, that they made. So
it happens.
Get into bed, Miyamoto. Now.
Lay down.
Hey everybody, it's me, Greg Miller, and I wanted to let you know Comic-Con is coming up and Kinda Funny is going to be there. So if you're at San Diego, we have a bunch of stuff you can come do with us, and you don't even have to have a Comic-Con badge. On Thursday, we're going to Polite Provisions. We're doing a meet and greet there. 5 p.m. You don't need a Comic-Con badge. You do need to be 21. Don't blame me. Those are the drinking laws in the United States of America. Friday, we're doing the Game Over Greggy show at Petco Park as part of Geek and Sundry Studio Stage. No Comic-Con badges required. We're doing that at 3 p.m. And then I'm moderating a whole bunch of Comic-Con panels if you do have a Comic-Con badge. So come hang out with me in the convention center. All the details are up on kindafunny.com/news. So head over there for the full rundown.